Alrighty, we are live. And as you could see, we are at day 20. Well, today's day 21. We haven't played the 21st game of Anachrony, but you could see we're Infinity Box owners, and we are now deep into the Anachrony world. I've even started to read. It's almost like possessed me to the point because I'm even in day 20, and even knowing this game for years, you're still looking up the rule books for just little things here and there, an explanation of a card. I can now, since we have the Fractures of Time, and we've got the original, and then the Pioneers of New Earth, and all, even as I'm reaching over to the table just to pick up one of the books, I know which book it is just by the feel of it, just by the thickness. Oh, that's the Infinity Box book. Oh, that one is Fractures of New Earth. That's one, this one. This is how, and my wife is starting to remember, oh, if I'm going to play that faction, then I know that that is going to be my evacuation, things, possibilities, and so forth. So we're having a great time. We have now played every expansion / module at least once, if not two or more times. And today we're going to do our last playthrough of just the Intrigues of the Council. And Intrigues of the Council was our last expansion that we hadn't done. So we are now going to start combining in our last 9 and 10 days. And let me tell you, of the various expansions, yes, Fractures. The more I think about Fractures of Time, did I call it Fractures of New Earth earlier? Whatever. Fractures of Time, to me, is not really an expansion. It's an alternate way of playing the game, almost like Dominion has, hinterlands, and you can just play that box or whatever. If you're going to do Fractures of Time, it doesn't really, yes, it feels like Anachrony, but it feels like an alternate timeline, an alternate version of the game. So I love it, though. I think this one is absolutely brilliant. I've always been a fan of the Pioneers of New Earth, and we're going to start putting that one. Doomsday module never really clicked, at least with two players with us. Although I do like the experiments, the pushing the game with just two players, I didn't feel was as interesting. With Guardians, the Guardians of the Council module, we like that one, although it doesn't add like a super amount. It does add enough. But I don't even know where here's the rule book that I'm looking for now with Future Imperfect. There's a few different small modules in there, or small to medium modules in there. And one of them gave you these little tiles. I don't even know where I put them right now. The table is just getting really out of control. Anyway, it gives you the ability of doing an action, one of the main actions now, and then paying back for it later. But the cost is so high for that one, being that you have to do an extra roll of the die of the paradox die, that the cost seems so high for that. And we played it only once. We'll play it more. I wasn't crazy about it the first time. We played Quantum Loops, where you can get these cards, and if it's the only tile that you put out on the paradoxes, or the warp phase, if you only put out your Quantum Loop, you can get to choose from a card which will get you a certain action right now. There's, I think, 8 cards with that one. It seemed okay, too. Some of it seemed a little bit overpowered. Again, we only played it once because our scores were high after playing with that. Higher than, sometimes a person might get a high score and the other person maybe a little bit lower. But we were in like 90s plus with that. And I thought that was a little bit too high. I don't know. We'll try it again some more. So we like Fractures. I love Fractures of Time. I love Pioneers of New Earth. And then, so these other expansions, was it the Hypersync? That's the one where you get to do an added action. Okay, on that one, I can take it or leave it. Quantum Loops right now, again, can take it or leave it. But the Intrigues of the Council is a definite. I love this one. It definitely raised the game for me because one of the things that we were both getting tired of was seeing the same few end game scoring possibilities. And you knew what they were in the beginning, and especially in a 2-player game, it's either me or you. Sometimes you're tied on it, but for the most part, it's very swingy, and it's just a handful of different, things that you need to do, and it's always the same amount of points. It's always 3. Sorry, I got a little bit of allergy reaction there. getting into the fall season. Anyway, this changes that all. And it could be a little bit confusing when you first play it and when you explain it, what the various people that you put here, if you're putting an engineer or a scientist, what their advantages are and how to get tiles onto the air. And of course, it comes along with the missions, and the missions tie in with the board. And the missions are things that you can try to accomplish during a turn. But this really raises it. It creates a really nice sense of tension, and you can definitely, I mean, there's ways of manipulating this that you can get a ton of points for just doing one thing, or someone can come in at the very end. And now, of course, being in the Anachrony world, is it straightforward and easy? No, it's very convoluted, but very satisfying at the same time. I know it's hard to put it. The mission cards I really liked, especially the emergency missions at the very end. They reward you for things. Oh, and the agenda card, which everyone gets the same agenda card, but the tiles that you can get by going here or by accomplishing missions can give you little ways of cutting corners during the game, and just a few of them with projects, with waking people up. This was a really nice addition. It's just not a simple card, but I thought it was just a really brilliant thing. The times that you want to wake somebody up because you just have one person you want to put out there, but you don't want to spend the water to put them out, nor do you want to force them awake, that kind of thing. You could do it by manipulating that. And then there are some end game scoring for the tiles that you don't use here. Maybe if you have a locked pair. I mean, of course, there's a lot of things going on, but I really like this. My wife felt a little bit that the mission cards kind of forced you to do things that maybe naturally you wouldn't do certain actions in certain orders that you wouldn't naturally do. But there's only so many things you could do on a turn. It's just the order and things. So I do like them, but I could see that it could be a little bit the game playing you kind of aspect of it. What else to say? Well, after we play tonight and we do again the one edition of doing the councils, we're going the intricate council. We're going to start then combining the various modules together. We'll go with what is recommended in the book and what is not recommended in the book. And it's funny because I'm starting to. I did never think I would do this, but that came with this beautiful book giving you the whole story. And it is so thematic and so interesting. And after playing this game a million times, like I know the character names, the leader cards names, which at first, like, yeah, you don't even pay that much attention to it. It's the green character, and then they give you this ability. But now I'm playing, one of the leaders today, and I'm like, oh, that's the patron, and his dad was at the ceremony where he was suddenly being told that now I'm the I'm now the patriarch. That's it, the patriarch of the group, and he was very surprised, and everyone gasped and looked at him. It almost reminded me of that book, The Giver, when the kid in that is given pointed to and said, now you are the giver. So that's an aside there. But the art in this game is just overwhelming. And of course, I painted the guys. But that was a number of years ago, like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, whatever, that I did them. And of course, maybe if I did it now, I would take more time, do it nicer. But I think it's still functional and fun. We've also inside the box there was this little tile that just says Anachrony on it and Mindclash Games on the other side. And so I put it on a standee, and I now use it in the game to mark what era that you're in, because let's be honest. As you're playing this game and the eras are going back and forth and someone's focus is here and someone's focus is there, oh my gosh, you could be all over the place and not know what era you're in. And that even messed up Erica on one of her turns. She thought, oh, what era? And yes, it's the tile that's next, the project tile. But we use this to mark, we're in this era. That way it's unequivocal. No one has any questions about what era we are in. I'm getting so familiar with the games. I don't even need, as soon as I see a project, when it's flipped, I'm like, I know what that project is. I know what the cost is. I know what its benefit is going to be. And, the agenda card allows you to even build it off the board, so you don't have to raise prices for slots that you want or limit you to how many projects that you have. Because once you're in the game, I got the stuff for a project. Nowhere to put it, and you can't get rid of anything. So this gives you that ability to do it. One thing slowly dawned on me, though, as we were playing the game, is, everyone calls this Euro, Euro, heavy, Euro, Euro. And yes, tremendous thinking constantly. You're always thinking about what you're doing. And it's brilliant fun that way. But I'd have to say that there's a little still of Ameritrash. I hate that term, but whatever. Everyone will understand what it means. Sort of an Ameritrash kind of feel to the game where you will be essentially rolling die. You're not really attacking anyone, but you're rolling die to see what you get. And that's why, first of all, and it's in the instructions, you could take out the paradox die. So we took that out. It's just too random. There was one game where I think I rolled three blanks in a row, and Erica rolled three doubles, which kind of totally messed her up. And she was just like, well, I just resigned. She was so lost at that point. So we got rid of that, and that brings back in the whole psychology. What is someone going to put out? And whether or not I can plan now on getting anomalies. I could plan on these things. So I like that. There is still, of course, the science die or the breakthrough die, where unless you have a very special ability, a very special project or a card, you're going to get, you don't really know what you're going to get. You're going to roll one of them and the other one. So you can try to hedge your bets on things, but sometimes if you hit, that saves you a lot of turns if you have the stuff for a project. So there is definitely a luck factor in here. There is a luck factor in, and I mean, it's not rolling the dice, but it's the same thing. What buildings come up when? Is it going to create a synergy for you? Is it not? This really cool building came out too early. It doesn't really work with what I have. What cards are going to come up with your missions? Which tiles you're going to draw with? Even with something as interesting as the intrigues, you don't know what's going to happen. But that all being said, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. It seems like there's so much randomness in the game, despite all your thinking, is that you're just constantly adjusting to the situation. And in the end, dice rolls and card shuffles and all that should all kind of even out in the end if you really go with it. But that's sort of my thoughts on the game at this point. I'm excited. There's some days I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to still play Anachrony, and it's like 10 p.m. And I almost feel, oh, should I just skip today? Should I just not do it today? But there's no way we're gonna not do 30 days. I even have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, and I might, feel kind of woozy after that or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm still gonna play Anachrony. But it's not punishing. Sometimes I do get that sense, oh, we still have to play. But once we're playing, I have a great time. So I get into it immediately, and you kind of lose yourself in the game. And it's been a really, really fun thing to do. I'm hoping, ultimately what I'm hoping is that, we own so many of these games and we love so many of them, but there's always that problem of, oh, I really want to play that game. Uh-oh, it's going to be half an hour to 45 minutes, me reading the manual again, remembering what it is, teaching it to other people again. I'm hoping now that we've been doing it this many times that it is going to get ingrained in my mind, and there's going to be no doubt as to what any of the rules are, what the boards are, what any of it is will be absolutely clear. So with that, I'm going to end the stream. And we will pick up with this next time, maybe when we are just about done.